Cappy is one of Mario's best sidekicks because of capturing and really improving his movement, but another one of the greatest is FLUDD from Isle Delfino, and today both of them will team up with Mario. This means that Mario still has all of Cappy's abilities, but also the hover nozzle to fly in the air, the rocket nozzle to launch upwards, and the turbo nozzle to run really fast. This seems like the ultimate squad right here. Let's see how things go on their way to defeat Bowser. So first, he started up in Cap Kingdom and already had that pack on and ready to go. At first, it seemed like maybe the rocket nozzle could be used to launch all the way up to Top Hat Tower, but that thing is way too tall. At least a hovering could be done to skip right over the bridge, and inside the tower, the rocket is not forgotten because a couple uses of that thing got him all the way to the top in seconds. Also, one more thing for good measure. Now Mario could defeat Topper and soar over to Cascade. In this place, all three nozzles were really useful. First, he used the turbo to run on up to the Chain Chomp and break that rock. Next, he used the rocket to get to the top of the falls and skip the cutscene. And then, the hover was used to get just enough distance to fly on up to the painting island. That was just for a little extra swag. Now it was back to defeating bosses. And yeah, he does that pretty well. FLUDD was already looking to be a pretty good fit for this game, and that team was not slowing down in sand. First off, they grabbed the Bird Moon in about the most stylish way possible, and after that, Mario made great use of the turbo by utilizing it to run through the entire open desert. Who needs to roll anymore? They also felt like they should continue their streak of defeating bosses, and this was a good spot to do it because Mario could use the rocket to get onto the highest tower 2D-less, then get some momentum with a hover, and look at that, he just invented a new IP skip. They couldn't be kept out of any place on the map. Harriet was defeated at the top of this place, and then it was nighttime. Unfortunately, the turbo wasn't quite fast enough to escape the mummies popping up, but Mario wouldn't be out here too long. He just had to make his way into the giant hole and rely on the two other nozzles once down here. One hover made it all the way to the Goomba Moon, and a fancy rocket hover combo was done for just enough height and distance to get up to this ledge. Getting over here and grabbing that moon was a great feeling, and so was getting to check out this area that is normally really hard to get to. Pretty cool way to explore Knuckletech's cave before brutally getting rid of him. The warmth had been restored, and now Mario could head on over to Lake and see what this pack was capable of when shooting water underwater. Well, hovering and rocketing does absolutely nothing. Using the turbo is where it's at. It took a little bit of getting used to, but they could just swim around at super speed while rising and falling. That allowed for a couple quick moons in there, and once back at the surface, the rocket was used to get up to the zipper area, and the painting platform above that. That was a cool route to take. Then they could just hover on over to Rango and fight him. The hovering also allowed for a new kind of quick kill that may just be even more visually appealing. Alright, so water on water actually goes pretty well. They'll probably have to revisit that, but for now, wooded. The turbo makes Mario run so fast that this bunny was caught immediately, and the animation of the moon didn't even play at all. Either way, that's two already. Then Nutclip was successful as well. It seemed the hover might be of better use for doing gate skip, but apparently that's not the case. There's still a wall there. He also got clipped inbounds when going back. He just went around this area instead. So technically, gate skip was still done. After getting a few more things along the path, that giant plant could be defeated. And there was the first story moon. Now the question was, could a rocket be used to get all the way up the tower from here? You better believe it. That is how we achieve fast peace around here. There's the first multi-moon for this kingdom, but the other one isn't too dependent on FLUDD since it basically just takes a couple of rockets from the waterfall and he's all the way up there. That's pretty cool, but then the captures take away all of those new abilities. Unfortunate, but of course, he's still gonna shoot down those targets, grab the uproot inside, and defeat Torque Drift. Maybe even while seeing some more weird stuff in the process. Now, he's got the second multi-moon. Cloud Kingdom now is where things feel like they would be pretty tame. Unless the princess can just be rescued right now. Don't worry, Peach, you're getting out of here. Wait, actually, there's no floor there. Or there. Fine, Bowser will just have to be defeated the normal way, and the story will continue same as always right into Lost. Now Mario could get back to using the nozzles to collect moons. All of that went really smoothly here. First, a rocket, of course, to get up the cliff, then just hovering over to every moon in a row. For some parts, there were actually good stretches without even touching the ground. Then, after Klepto was activated, everything over here felt pretty normal. But at least he could finish this one off by doing a cool hover over to the cage moon, then grabbing the one under the bridge while actually being able to hover out of there. Usually death is the aftermath of that one, but not this time. So easy 10 moons finished up, and now what exactly is going to happen in Metro? Well, Mario realized that there's a lot of buildings, and that means a lot of verticality is needed. The rocket nozzle could be used for that, and it was pretty powerful for this place. Obviously, the first few buildings were barely worth mentioning, but then there's the tallest one, New Donk City Hall. By rocketing up from the entrance, he could land on top of one of the billboards, then launch up again to reach the top. Not only that, but it also allowed him to escape the Mecha Wiggler fight once that started, and now he could see the city from a whole different perspective. Quite literally, since almost everything is invisible. Suppose it's time to just defeat this thing and hop into Day Metro. Now it really does become a joy hovering around here grabbing moons. Most of these were pretty easy for Mario, but he also wanted to get the festival going. Thankfully, talking to all of the musicians was no problem because he had that turbo nozzle going for him. Then after that, all it took was a quick trip into the sewer where this new technique could be done. And then the power was back on so the festival could start. Now here's the thing, Mario could do a rocket jump to get over the invisible wall to explore the festival. That's good to see. He could stand on top of these buildings with all of the crowds, but not on the 2D box borders because those don't have collision. The saddest part though was that the poster on the side of New Donk City Hall was gone, so it seems as though he can't jump all the way up to where Pauline is. This means going into 2D is still required, but at least the turbo nozzle could still be used through here to get an insane amount of speed, except it can be a little broken at points to say the least. Took a few tries, but Mario eventually got all the way up there to finish off the story. Now it's on to Snow. Oh, you know what's about to happen. Another new Snowdram. It never gets old. And once Mario is inside Chavaria, it's smooth sailing. Most of the moons require just a simple jump up high, and we all know how that's getting solved. Once he had all the moons around this room, he could clip it into the wall and hover right on over to the Boundable area. And apparently hovering while sliding allows this to happen, which seems a little strange, but also funny. Then he can capture the racer and win that thing like a pro. Another multi-moon down with just a few more needed to leave. And one nice thing is that Cappy is lost during timer challenges, but FLUDD isn't. So that still made both of these moons much easier. Warping back to the Odyssey didn't even feel necessary at this point. So how was Mario going to complete Seaside? He was going to do it in an awesome way, because FLUDD basically made all of the Gushins completely in vain. All of these tall structures stood no chance when there's a rocket around to get the job done. Also, swimming with the turbo is once again very useful, and it felt like there was a much better open area here to move around in. The only casualty to this whole captureless thing was the fact that lava is also here. FLUDD cannot actually get rid of this stuff, even though water is also shot from the pack. That means that a Gushin has to be used for this story moon, and also for the first hit on the boss. But after that, the lava on his head is gone, so Mario can just get up to a tall platform, hover over his head, and ground pound to take him down. This can be done on the last two phases for a satisfying way to finish this kingdom. But then it's time to go to Luncheon. Now, things went well at the start here because Mario could rocket up to the salt pile, turbo back across to the other side, and hover up to where where Spewer is. Once again, this fight was absolutely nothing to worry about. And as for the town, there might have been a lot of things in the way here, but the hover nozzle still makes it possible to soar over everything and easily get over to the Panbro area. Now, this is where things get a little interesting, because of course, this moon could be grabbed, and Mario could get up the cliff, but was the meat needed to go all the way? Mario used a rocket combined with hovering to get as much distance as possible, but there was just not enough height. Surprisingly, there were a few flat spots on the cliffside Mario could also launch off, but none of them actually were higher than the initial platform, and if they were high enough, he'd just slide right down. So, guess he's going up the usual way, but still a great view from up here. Then, once Kukateel blew him all the way back to the bottom, it was going to be fun getting back up there, because hovering over this gap with a lot of speed felt amazing. And he would have skipped the cave altogether, but there is one story moon here that is required. But at least Mario didn't have to use the lava bubble to get through it. FLUDD helped out with inside and outside, because of course, a couple of uses of the rocket and the peak was reached. After a super clean boss fight with the bird, they were off yet again. Now for Ruined. Yeah, Mario did not see any way to climb this whole tower with just these nozzles. He'd need like 10 times the amount of rocket power, maybe even more. So that wire was necessary. But the rocket could still be used during the dragon fight to fly high over all of the attacks. He was completely invulnerable up here and fell down right on the dragon's head at the perfect time to finish him off. There was then an interesting situation in Bowser's Kingdom, because this place consists of a ton of islands, but most of them are pretty far apart. Was FLUDD's hover still enough to cross these gaps? Not by itself, but Mario could do a roll to get a running start, rocket off the edge with this momentum, and hover to just barely fly all the way over to the second island. As cool as that was, it's pretty much all that can be done here. The next gap was much further and they could get nowhere close, but at least there was this. That's interesting. After the first story moon, Mario tried crossing more gaps, but they were always just too high and too far to get to. But here's the thing, even if all of the wires had to be used, it didn't matter, because the only real island that matters is the last one. Of course, both of these Broodals were defeated with nothing really to say, but then it was the time to climb all the way up, and they don't need Pokios where he is going. The rockets have just enough height to jump up all the roofs and scale the entire wall. But the most important part is the wire. Could Mario skip it? Of course he could. Not by using nut jumps either. No, just by very precisely landing on this flag over the void, and then rocketing up to Bowser's face. There they go, hovering on up to the mech fight. This was probably the best boss fight of them all. Not only was climbing the mech much easier with all of these nozzles, but even after getting launched off, hovering made it ridiculously easy to just move back over, and it looked kinda epic. If there was ever something to give style points for in this game, it would be this right here. So that's done, and all the moons they needed have been deposited. Up they go to the actual moon to take on Bowser. Getting into the wedding hall should be no problem, because guess what? The moon gravity still applies to the rocket nozzle. That means any gap in this place and any tall cliff stood no chance of stopping the team. Bowser stood no chance either. He might be powerful, but Mario teaming up with both of these sidekicks has shown to be an unstoppable force. They could jump so high, Bowser couldn't even see them. And after the hat was stolen, they could basically just float there while punching him. Okay, maybe a little bit of damage was taken due to the overconfidence, but it's whatever. They were still able to get just the right cycle at the very end, and obviously Bowser was defeated. Then there was the escape. Mario was thinking it would be nice to still be able to use FLUDD. Just imagine all of those nozzles plus Bowser's abilities. Maybe that will have to be revisited someday, but at this moment, he's getting out of here. Yeah, you'll love to see that. Alright, he'll do the whole thing again one more time. The invisible wall actually will go away this time, and now everyone is safe. The hero, the villain, the princess, and all of the sidekicks. Well, I gotta say, that was awesome. I did not think this mod was gonna be that good, but that was undoubtedly one of my favorites. No stress, not too much of a challenge, just a lot of fun. I mean, two of my favorite games of all time were combined to create this masterpiece. Of course, I loved it. Hopefully, you all enjoyed this story because I know I did. So, that's all I got for right now. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Take care, everyone.